I wish somebody would have told me, hey, before you become a father or before you get married, have your parents tell the story of how they got together or what their ups and downs were. And, and just to see the struggle within that before you even get into it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford. Got the big homie, Kev. How you doing, man?
I'm always doing good, doing great. Good to see you, fam. What's good?
Man, I love to hear it. Man, super happy to have the homie Jason in here. Jason, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm off for 2 weeks, man, and I'm going to relax, wash some clothes, watch some Netflix, put my son in the headlock.
You sound like a teacher.
I mean, that's what it says on my paycheck.
Look, sometimes, right?
Yeah, sometimes. I
got some friends over here in my area, man. They're teachers, and I remember Friday, like the day before break. I guess it was last week or whatever, and they were just like, "Thank God." They were like, "I'm tired now. Talk to me on Saturday because I'm gonna be good Saturday." But Friday, they was like.
Hey, Friday, man, all week last week, man, it's like we were all walking past each other on campus, like countdown, 3 days, 2 days. So yeah, man, everybody is tired, man, tired.
Yo, well, I mean, you know what? We're not gonna get too deep here on your break because you see, I got the Santa hat on, man. This podcast comes out on Christmas Day, so we're gonna keep it light today. We're gonna keep it light and fun. Right. Last week we talked about grief. We're not trying to go down that rabbit hole this week. We want to talk about like I wish I knew, like the things that you wish you knew before being a dad. Like, so for me, I think one of the things I wish I knew. So last night, man, my toddler, she's finally starting to like sleep late through the night, right? She usually only sleeps about 10 hours, but last night for some reason she went to bed at like 4:30 in the afternoon. Little mama ain't wake up until this morning at like 5 o'clock, and I wish somebody told me that like that happens like overnight because I would have slept better last night, bro. I was up all night like checking her to see if she alive, like seeing what's going on. I'm running in there like, yo, is baby girl good? But so I'm tired right now. I need some of that coffee that you got over there. But what about y'all, man? What's something you wish somebody told you before you was a father? Jay Hill, you said something, man, before we got on here, but I don't know if you could repeat that.
Oh, I said a lot, man. I wish that somebody would have told me, don't become a dad until you're ready. Whatever that is, that's subjective to the person, whoever you are, but whatever, put a time limit on it. Don't become a dad until you're like 28, 29, 30, because
I started at 30 and I'm still working on it. Now I started at 30. I don't know how old I am, so I started at 30 something.
Hey, but just imagine if you would have started at 21 like me, man. Because what I try to explain to my son, man, you have to look at your life in like 5-year increments. So the person that you are at 20, you're not gonna be the same person at 25. You're not gonna be the same person at 30. And so, man, I look back when Kevin and I were in college, man, and not being responsible and not going to class and, those things, man, it's, just don't become a father. Don't become a father until you're ready. Until you
Bro, we all went to North Texas, and at 21, I think I was a senior in college.
Mm-hmm.
My first year senior.
Mm-hmm.
Did a couple years. But if I had a kid, I would have been hit. I would have been hit, bro.
Yeah, but
I mean, even at 30, if I didn't marry my wife and have kids with her, I think I still would have been hit because I don't know what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
I gotta ask her like, so
what am I supposed to be doing? And I'm just thinking, Jay Hill, man, at that age.
Yeah, well, see, and you just made a good point. Also, that's another one. Don't become a father until you're married. That's a good one right there. Don't become a father until you're married. Because at the time I wasn't married, but I was young, but I tell Kevin all the time, like at that point in my life, I had to have something happen in my life to change my path. You know, so the only thing that the good Lord above knew to do was to, hey, you got to get somebody pregnant.
I'm trying to get
other tools.
I know to stop them. You gonna get them pregnant, get them a kid.
This is the only way we're gonna reel it back in. This is the only way we're gonna reel it back in. But yeah, man, because at the time, me and my son's mother, we've been knowing each other since we were in the 7th, 8th grade. So the dynamic is, is different. But I'm thankful. She is who she is. I am who I am. And we make it work the best way we can. But at that point in time, literally the only thing that was going to change my life was having to take care of another human being, which was my son. Hence him being born on Christmas. And it's crazy because me and his mom, we talk all the time. He was conceived on Easter weekend and he was born on Christmas Day. So go figure.
That's my God. That's my God. Hey, but Jay Hill, tell me this though, bro. So you say that changed your life. How did that change that life? Because a lot of times I think, especially like fathers like look like us, we don't necessarily get to take on the roles that we want to take, according to the media, but that ain't always true. And so it's like, like how did your life change with that? Like, obviously you got a kid, but like what you feel me?
Oh yeah. Well, for me, just kind of, and I like the idea of the podcast because, you never know who's going to listen. But for me, I didn't grow up with my dad. I did not grow up with my dad. Just, briefly, I didn't meet my dad until I was 32. Found out I had brothers and sisters. I used to catch the bus in front of my dad's house and didn't know. So for me, one of the things, being a 21-year-old man and I'm 40 now, but it's one of those things to where it changed my life in the fact of literally it brought all of those things, that the anger, the disdain, the insecurities. It literally brought all those things to the forefront that I had to deal with because I have a son and he could potentially go through the same thing. So it's kind of like we grew up together. We definitely grew up together. So man, being a parent, man, especially being a dad, a black dad, it literally just dumps everything into your lap that you may have been missing as a young man growing up. So it's fun, but it's deep stuff, man. It's deep stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? I've actually seen that happen with a lot of my students who are teen fathers. As if you don't know, typically a teen father is a kid that's more likely to drop out of school, a kid that's making failing grades, kids that's always in ISS. So that's the typical idea of what a teen father is. But what I've seen, even in my life, because it did change, and I'll speak on that after this. But even in the teens' kids' lives, man, these kids are like giving up on life. But when they have a kid, man, their life, their motivation, the things that they want to accomplish, where they want to go in life, a lot of that changes. And I think I had to take a step back because when you're working with kids, you're like, hey, I really want you to go in this trajectory. I want you to go this route, this path. But even whatever path that they chose to take, as I still see them on Instagram, they're still like being a father. So I might see a couple of gats and a couple of Uzis and a bag of weed. But by the 6th post, it's going to be them loving on their kid and telling how much they appreciate being a father. And then eventually those posts will change as they mature and as they grow. But I think being a father does change a man's trajectory on life. I remember when I had Kendall, again, y'all, we were young. We were like me and the
young and dumb, just out there wilding.
But I remember when Kendall was born, like Jay Hill came to the hospital, all the Lena sorority sisters came to the hospital. We got back home, and Jay Hill called and was like, "Bro, you ready to go?" I'm like, I got to put Kendall to sleep. And Kendall already sitting on my arm, knocked out, like cold. Like all I had to do was put her in the bed and go out. But it changed what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be and, where I wanted to spend my time. So I think fatherhood does take a definitely a different toll on all of us. But something Jay Hill said too that I want to point out: the emotions, the things that he had to deal with without being a father, without having a father in his life, the anger that he had to deal with, and I think everybody has something that comes with that. But bro, I love you because you've been a great example of a single father and going through those issues. I've been with you, bro. We've been rocking forever. But even like when you said meeting your dad for the first time, I remember that, that season in your life. But not only did you work through those things, you took it and said, okay, I don't want this for Christian. I don't want this for my son. I want to do better for my, for my seed. And that's one thing that hats off, bro.
I appreciate it, man. And it's, like I love stories, man. And it's just like, in my mind, as growing up a young man in anger and all this repression and everything. When I did get the opportunity to talk to my dad on the phone, and everything, and I was invited over his house to meet him, first thing in my mind is like, oh man, hey, first time I see my dad, man, I'm gonna whoop his, what, that's what was going on in my head. Yeah, like we gonna have to go outside. We're gonna have to take it to the grass, man. We're gonna have to, we're gonna have to go ahead and do it. We you my dad. I love you. I care about you. I want to get to know you. But before we had this conversation, we're gonna have to throw these hands. That's what was in my mind. And so when I got to his house, knocked on the door, and he was like, "Hey, come in." So I walk in, and it's funny, but it's crazy how things work. He was in a wheelchair, so he was paralyzed, strokes. He was paralyzed on one side. So once again, God,
I'll say you ain't about to whoop no paralyzed man.
You're forced. I was forced to sit down and have a conversation with this man. And so it kind of all that anger and everything. It was still there, but it was a different type of conversation and everything. So I don't know, through life and being a dad and everything, it's crazy how things work out because you have this idea of how things are going to work in your own mind. But then when you walk through that door, it's just like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to change this up. This man is paralyzed, so you're not that person. So you're going to have to sit down. You're going to actually have a conversation. So that's just, that's just pretty much what
he didn't want to be.
Say that again.
Pretty much, yeah. Go ahead.
No, Jay Hill got a delay.
It's probably, man, my computer, man. I don't.
No, you good, man. You good. But what I was saying was like, was he not there because he didn't want to be, or because your mom's was like, nah, we're not gonna be around? Like, what was the situation? Because I was listening to a podcast yesterday with E.T. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, and he was kind of talking about. I think it was last week's episode, or anyways, it was an episode where he was talking about his one trigger that set him off was like, whenever his wife would come to him and kind of like, cause her personality, she's the person that's usually in control. And nothing wrong with that. That's her personality. Right. Cool, whatever. Right. Well, his problem was that his mom's growing up lied to him that like she told him this dude that was his stepdad was his actual dad. And so the person that he trusted and believed in was always trying to tell him what to do. So he had a bad relationship with his mom. And so what happened is that whenever someone tried to tell him what to do, his wife, that's when they was beefing. So I'm like, what was it for your moms and for your dad, and kind of like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of the same, kind of similar. My mom, she kind of kept some things from me, but then in addition to, my dad was who he was, 7, 8 different kids by different women and everything. So, but kind of the same thing. My mom ultimately lied, but she had her own reasoning for that. But at the end of the day, that affected, the one person in your life that's supposed to take care of you and, do these certain things, they lied to you, so yeah, it, up until 32, me and my mom, we're good, we're fine. And then when all this happens, like our relationship, it just goes down the tube. We're fine now. We're cool now. There's been a lot of tears, a lot of apologies and everything. But people do what they have to do in a certain time, you know. And for me, I had to really understand grace, you know. So that's my big thing now is I literally, you know, you don't know forgiveness until you literally have to look your mom in the face and give her grace and hear her story and hear why she did what she did, and you know, all these different things. So, you know, with my mom, it's funny, you know, my mom is like the cursing church lady. You know, that's just who she is as a person. You know, if you go over to the house, you know, she'll pray for you, but then she'll make you some whiskey on the rocks too and cook you a meal. You know, that's just who my mom is.
What time we coming over?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's one of those things to where, you know, my mom, she has her past. You know, she used to hang out, and once again, it's funny because the Netflix show, the one that Eddie Murphy did, he remade Dolomite.
Yeah.
So one day, you know, I was just at the house. I'm at her house and we're just hanging out, and she, you know, she's like, hey, you know, come over and hook up Netflix, and you know, so I hooked it up and I'm just flipping through, and Dolomite, you know, it was a show, and so I flipped on it, and so I'm literally watching it with my mom, and she's laughing like she's in tears, and so all these stories come out of how back in the day, Rudy Raymore would come through and he would do shows in Dallas, and she would go and, you know, hang out and drink and this and that, and so I never knew these things. So now I'm getting a different idea of, you know, who my mom was. And it makes sense, you know, that she has different levels and different experiences. And, you know, the times were different. So my big thing is with people now, even with my son being a dad, grace. You know, just you kind of have to give kids grace because they didn't ask to be here, whatever the situation was, you know, however they were brought to the world. So with my son, we used to bump heads, man. He's a mirror image of me. You know, we still do every once in a while, but I have to give him grace. You know, him growing up, I would ask him, you know, why are you doing it? That makes no sense. I don't know. And that would set me off. I don't know.
That's perfect, bro. That's what I wish. I wish somebody would have told me Kendall would turn out just like me. Bruh.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Now that we're in it now as dads, he really didn't know because he doesn't know. His brain does not, you know, there's a connection, you know, so he does not know. So it's one of those things, man, where I can go on and on and on, man. But it's good.
I think
being a dad.
I think that's one of the things that I wish I would have known, like way, way, way back then. I'm still learning it right now. Is like, yo, I wish I would have known how to how to be graceful, how to offer grace. Because like you know, that word, it gets tossed around a lot of times, but like we really don't know what it means. Like you talking about your moms, where you got to sit there and forgive your moms for lying to you for all these years. But yeah, she had a reason, and so she doesn't need to apologize to you, but you still need to give her grace in order to accept. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yo, if somebody would have told me that would have been a game changer. And like Kev just said, if someone would have told me my kids would be like me. My daughter's 2. And I laugh right now at some of the things she does because it's just like me. But I don't think I'm going to be laughing for a long time. So pray for me. Tell your mama to pray for me and then have a drink for me. So,
Hey man, Kendall got up the other day and she had all her clothes on, from socks, jeans, sweater. I was like, what? Why you go to sleep with all your clothes on? And I had to start thinking of that. And I was like, yep, that's one of my traits. I come home, not take off nothing, and get in the bed and just be out. But also, I'm gonna add to that too. I wish I would have had the conversation with my parents of how, you know, of their relationship before I became a parent, if that makes sense. Because I just recently, just this year, like I just recently went home with me and Kendall went to Houston, just to hang out, to visit, and me, mom, and dad was just on the patio, and I was just like, "How did y'all get together? Like, what? How did all that formulate? How did that come together?" And then just listening to the stories and listening of their character and who they really were before, you know, 30 years, 35 years into marriage, but to see the characteristics between the two of them, I wish somebody would have told me, hey, before you become a father or before you get married, have your parents tell the story of how they got together or what their ups and downs were. And, you know, and just to see the struggle within that before you even get into it. Because now at 38, I look at some of my situations and life that we go through, and I'll call, and they be like, "All right, bye," because they've already been there. They've already been in that situation. They've already been there in their life. So I wish that somebody would have told me to get the story of your parents before you become a father. Like, what's the history?
Right.
That would have been a big, like, I think that would have been like super helpful, man. Because so Jay Hill, I don't know if how often you watch the podcast, but I think a couple episodes ago, maybe not 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, anyways, we had my pastor on here, Chris Respis, and so we was just chopping it up. But so he's also my what Kev don't know is he's also my life group leader at my church. So we have a life group at our church that's married under 7, and so he's actually the leader of that. And so we were talking about how everybody met and how they met their spouse and things like that. So he told his story. And so he was a preacher, and one Sunday he was preaching with all these other people. And I guess, his wife, her pastor always told her, don't be looking for no husband, because that's how you find someone that's always married. Look for a single man. And so after he finished preaching, she was like, oh, I want that brother. And so he's outside hanging around a whole bunch of other pastors, and she in her car, and she just flashed her headlights at him. And he do the hood call like, what's up? And I'm just like, when you think about that image, they've been married, 20 years or something like that, 15 years now. And I'm like, just seeing the difference in those two, just to understand who they were then and who they are now. I'm like, man, I think that would have saved some people, because that would have, a lot of times, Jay Hill, you talked about, not getting married till you're ready or have kids till you're ready. I think a lot of people, you should wait to get married till you're ready, but there's also a point where you just gotta go for it at a certain point. Right. And so you gotta understand, everybody ain't gonna be perfect. You're never gonna be perfect to have a kid. You're never gonna be perfect to be a dad. But you know what I mean? I think that just would save a lot of people. I think my daughter about to bust in this door, so I'm gonna let y'all have it.
And I like that last piece, bro. Not everybody's gonna be ready, and I think that's the beauty of the journey that I've had as far as being a teen fatherhood coach, is seeing like how the people who are least likely to be fathers become fathers, but they do really well at it. Does that make sense? And I think, to me, that's the beautiful thing about fatherhood. Not only do we not have a relationship for 9 months, but when the baby gets here, and you're interacting, and then you're get into the role of being a father. That's another thing I wish somebody would have told me. Like, fatherhood doesn't come as soon as the baby gets here. It's like, here's some fatherhood, does. You're going to be a great father. Like, it's a process. It's definitely a process, and I wish somebody would have told me that. Like, I tell this story, and I don't know if I'm telling it right, but I remember calling my dad, and it probably was in a panic, because I remember when we first found out we were pregnant, I called Jay Hill and was like, bro, I'm about to be a dad. He was like, all right, good. All right, fool, I'll holler at you later. And I was like, all right.
You want to go get some wings?
But then I remember a few weeks later calling my dad and being like, yo, dad, I just kind of, chop it up. And, hey, by the way, I'm going to be a dad. And he was like, all right, it's time to be a man. And I was like, all right, well, what does it mean to be a father? And then I figured it out that fatherhood is a process, and it's not something that's just sprinkled on you. You're never ready for it. And I think I've interviewed so many people where I'm like, did you plan on being a father? The percentage of people, especially men, who planned on being a father is very few. Right. Majority of those who are fathers and great fathers, they never planned on being a father. So, yeah, man, I think that's
you just kind of you dropped into the deep end. You just kind of have.
I was about to look. You talking about dropping in the deep end, but he was also dropping into the deep end with some content, and I was like, yo, we about to get out of here, man. This is a Christmas episode.
Look, I tried to keep it light. Hey, Jason, what is one of the most hilarious moments you've had as a father with Christian? Like, when you think about the whole 18 to 19 years you've been a father, like, what's something that you be like, man, I can't believe that happened? Or
Well, like I'm very sarcastic, like, and so I kind of like to play jokes, So it's a few. Like I remember one time, and I felt like a bad dad when I did this, but it was a Sunday, and of course Monday I have to get up and go to work. So I got up Monday, I made breakfast, I'm doing everything I need to do, and I left home. I got halfway down the street, and my phone rings. And it's my son, he's like, "Hey, Dad." I'm like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He's like, "Dad, where are you?" I'm like, "I'm going to work." I'm like, "What do you want?" He was like, "Well, I'm at home and you got to take me to school." I forgot he was home. I 250% forgot he was at home. And I think he may have been in the 6th or 7th grade. And I had to turn around, and it was, just different things like that. So, and I blamed him. I was like, "Man, it's your fault." I was like, "Man, you stressed me out so much, man, that I just, But, man. And like I said, my son, man, he's the mirror image of me. And, he gets me back all the time. And so I bought, the rotisserie chicken. That's our thing. I get a rotisserie chicken and pull it apart or whatever. So I got a rotisserie chicken, and I love the legs and the wings.
Yeah.
I don't like the breast. It's dry. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I got the chicken, man. It was fresh. I waited on it, get it home. I went and took a shower. I came back. My son cuts off the legs and the wings on each side to eat it. And when I come out, he's standing in the kitchen just looking at me laughing. And just like something in me, I literally just wanted to like inside his head. But then I had to think, I'm like, that is so me. That is so something that I would do. I would 250% do it. So
that is hilarious, man.
It's different, it's different when you have a boy, they have to have thick skin. You have a girl, man. If I had a daughter, oh man, she would have all my social security number, my credit cards, all.
Josh,
I got two. Yeah, I could not be the dad of a girl. Like even when I'm out, like even my students, like my female students, man, it's just like I protect them no matter what. The boys, I can talk trash to them, and but the girls, it's just like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?
Yeah.
Are you hungry?
Yeah.
Like, you take some money for lunch," and they know it. They know that I'm a sucker.
That's a deeper conversation. We had that conversation last week.
Time you need.
You say that again, Josh?
That's a deeper conversation. Man. We had that conversation last week.
Man, and I keep trying to say, man, I'm gonna give it to Kendall, but every time I go in there, I just be like, man, I don't want to hurt her feelings. I just want to. That's my baby, man. How can I?
Kev, look, this is where being a girl dad is at. My daughter just turned 2, and she knows where I keep my wallet in my pocket, and she grabs it. Yeah. So that's and she'd be like, "Oh, Daddy's wallet." So one day she like grabbed my pocket. She thought it was there. She's like, "Where's your wallet?" I was like, "It's in the other one." She's like, "Where's Daddy's wallet?" I'm like, "You don't need to know."
Dad on purpose. Your purpose is to fund her lifestyle. That's your purpose.
And on that note, Kev, you got closing words.
I got closing words.
I know. You know what? We're gonna let Jay Hill go ahead, man. Like Jay Hill, you got like at the end of the day, man. What is something that you wish somebody like really would have broke down to you to help out, whether those single fathers out there or people that are thinking about becoming dads or whatever?
And and this is I know we're keeping it light, but I am going to say this is kind of deep.
All right, hold on.
Parents need to go to counseling. Go to counseling. Like, hey, I fought it for years. I finally went, and all these different things came out. I'm dead serious. Like literally, parent. Whether you are a new parent in the middle of parenting, you could have adult kids, whatever. Parents, go to counseling. Stop holding it in. Go to counseling. So that is literally it right there.
I love it. So Kev, what you got to say to the people, man?
I can say so much more, but that's my closing remark. Go to counseling, parents. Parents, go to counseling.
I hear you on that, man. For me, man, I wish somebody told me that there were more dads out here like me. There are more
Mhm.
dads who really love their kids, who want to do for their
Yeah.
kids. There are
Right.
dads who want to share in the experience of being a father. And we're starting to see that now. But when I initially became a father, really all I had was Jay Hill, Emarcus, and Randon, and those were my buddies that we've all had
Right.
kids. Our kids are growing up together. But I just wish that somebody told me like there's a huge community of fathers who love their kids,
Mhm.
who will help support you in your journey in
Right.
becoming a great father. So just know we got some great dads out there, and we love y'all. And just like I say all the time, I love you guys. And if y'all ever need anything, holla at your boy. But there are some good dads out there, man. Connect with those dads and grow your network of dads.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Definitely.
Yep. Just to wrap it up, man. Yo, again, Merry Christmas to everybody out there, man. I hope you guys have a great one. Have a good time with the family. Make sure you go ahead and cash at me something. Just J Ash. Go ahead and send me them coins, or pick up some fatherhood merch. But send us some likes, some reviews, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast with at least 3 people. 1, 2, 3. Share it with 3 people, and we'll see y'all next week in the new year. Take care, y'all.